Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 3 of my Ruby on Rails tutorial. Today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things. We're going to talk about static pages, testing, helper functions, shared layouts, shared style sheets, images, and a whole bunch more. So enough talking, let's start writing some code. Okay, I have the same setup as I had previously. If you didn't watch the previous tutorials, please watch them. And of course, I just opened up my whole entire Rails application by typing in subl with a space and dot. If you are on Windows, you're going to type in subl.exe and the directory you want to open. And when you do that, Sublime Text is going to open up, and we're going to just be adding on to what we created previously. Of course, there's nothing over here because we do not have the server started at this point. Just have Chrome up here. I have my bash shell, my terminal, and my SQL all opened in different tabs, and I'm just going to start writing some code. Now, the very first thing I want to do is I want to generate my static pages, and I'm going to start off with just home and about. To do that inside of Rails, we are going to just come over here into our terminal, and we're going to type in Rails generate. You could just type in G, but I like to type in generate, and controller, very important, and then you're going to have to give a name to the main part that is going to hold your static pages. In this situation, I'm going to call this pages, and then I'm going to generate two static pages. One's going to be home and one's going to be about. And I'm just going to hit enter, and there you can see all the pages are being generated. There's about, there's home, those are the routes. You can see right here we've created our different views, and there is our controller. And if we jump over here and go into config, and then we go into routes.rb, you're going to see that home and about are right there. Then if we also come over here to the app part and click on controllers, you're going to see pages controllers right here, and here are going to be the two different actions we have. Now if we jump back over here and we type in Rails server, you're going to see that our server is going to start up, and if we come in here and reload this page, you're going to see that pages about is going to load for us, and there is pages about. We're going to be making a lot of changes to that, of course. And of course, like we talked about previously, when either page is called, the code is going to be executed inside of these methods. So whenever our home is open, if there's any code in here, it's going to be executed. And then we're going to let our view display whatever we want to display. Now let's go in here and actually make these things look like something. They are going to be stored in the views folder. So let's open that up, and then open up pages, and then let's open up about. Now inside of here, for H1 tags, we could say something like about us. And I'm not going to worry too much about the design in this. We're going to actually cover how to do layouts, but I'm not going to waste a lot of time making really fancy layouts. At least at this point, I will eventually. Say something like, we love what we do and do what we love. And of course, in the description for this video is going to be a link to a transcript of everything I say here. So, and all the code and everything, of course. We could then come in and do a paragraph tag. And then inside of our paragraph tag, we could do like a form for mailing or something like that. And then after that, we could say contact Dirk for help. And if we save that and reload, you're going to see that it's going to now show about us. We love what we do and do what we love. Contact Derek for help, and that would open up my email application. If we wanted to change the view for our home screen, just go once again, it's in views, and then pages is the controller, and then home. And we could just come up here and just type in home just to keep everything simple. And then welcome to our home page. Save that. And again, you can see pages up here. And if we type in home instead, now you're going to see exactly what we just typed. So that's how easy it is to set up just a basic static page. Now let's take a little bit of a look at tests. I'm not going to get too much into testing right now, but we will in the future. I just want to give you a sample of it so you know exactly how the testing process goes, how to catch errors, how to fix things, and so forth and so on. Now basically, tests are going to allow us to simulate a user interacting with our application. And we're going to create tests to secure our app, to protect from known errors that come up as we are creating our application, and to protect code that is likely to change. Now whenever we created this application, you're going to see that tests actually were created as well. And to find them, just go down here to test, and then we're going to go into controllers, and then there's going to be one right here, and it's going to be called pages controller test, and there it is right there. So let's zoom in on this. Now basically what we see here, here's a test for our home page. What we're doing here is we're going to be issuing a GET request for the home action, like we have here in this situation, and then what we're going to do is we're going to check to make sure we receive a success status code response. That is what this is right here. So as long as we use the GET action whenever we call our home page, and we receive a success message, we're not going to throw any errors. That's basically what that's saying we're doing there. So let's jump back over into our terminal, and of course we're going to be in our main directory. And now what I'm going to do is create the databases using the settings that we have in our database.yml file. And to do that, I'm going to go rake db create, and I'm going to use trace in this situation there, so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, and whenever you do this, you're going to get some different little errors here, and the reason why is because we did not give permission for our user in our database that we have over here, sbadmin, to access the testing part of our database. So let's go in here and change that. I'm going to exit out of MySQL first. So I'm going to log in as root. Now what I'm going to do is go in and grant privileges for my user in my Rails application. Well, make sure you put in grant all privileges on, and it's sp-blog test.star to sbadmin at localhost identified by password. And there we go. Now let's say we want to add in another static page called directions. We can go into PagesController, this guy right here. Let's open this up so you can see it well. PagesController.rb. Now let's go in and add another test for a page that hasn't been created yet, and let's sort of walk through the whole process of creating a page completely from scratch. So we're going to go into tests, and we're going to go into PagesController test, right like that, and throw in another test. Here we'll go test should get directions, and then we'll go do, and we're basically going to do exactly the same thing. So let's just copy this, paste that in there. Again, it's going to be another GET request, but this time we're going to do a GET request for directions, and the response we're looking for is going to be success, like we did before. And let's save that. Now if we go into the terminal once again and type in rake test, we're going to get an error, and there you can see is the error. Basically the error is there are no route matches for directions. So let's go into the routes folder and correct that. Once again, we're going to go into config routes.rb, and then we're just going to put in another get method here, pages about, and we'll type in directions this time. So what I'm trying to do is sort of walk you through common errors you're going to see, because this is the thing that drives people crazy about Rails. Now we can jump back over here again into our terminal, and let's run rake test again. It's going to give us another error, and the error this time is going to be that there is no action directions in the PagesController. So let's open up the PagesController, and there, whoop, that's the testing one. Come up here where we have our assets folder and our app folder and PagesController. Open that up, and we're going to have to throw directions inside of here. So it might seem a little bit confusing, but once you see all the different errors, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to handle all of them. All right, so directions. So let's save that. Now let's jump back over into the terminal again and type in rake test again. And it's going to give us another error. This error is going to be missing template pages for directions. Well, what's the same thing as saying a template page? It's a view. So what we're going to have to do is go and create a view for it. So we're going to go into our views folder and our pages folder, and we're going to create a new file, and we'll just come up here and say save as. We're going to call this directions.html.erb and save that. Then inside of this thing we can just say, let's just do an h1 tag. Just keep this simple and say something like directions right there, and then say directions just to keep it simple. Save that. Jump back over into the terminal and rake test again, and this time we shouldn't get any errors. Just wanted to walk you through the process of setting all that up, and here you can see 0 errors. So now you know the process of basically creating a static page and all the different things you need to not get an error or to show a success. And if we come over here to pages and type in directions instead, you're going to see that it shows directions and directions to our place, exactly like we wanted. Now let's say we wanted to come in here and check for the presence of a certain HTML tag on our page. Well, we can just go into PagesController test right here, open this up a little bit wider. Now if we wanted to verify, for example, that there was a title on every single one of our pages, what we could do is go assert, select, and put in title, and then we could verify that the title for our page is welcome, for example. And let's go and let's do this for everything else. So what this is doing is it's verifying that there is a title for our page, and the title that is being used is exactly what we put here. So let's say the next one is about us, and then for our directions, let's assert that there is a title and it is called directions. Now if we save that, go into the terminal and perform another test, guess what? We're going to get an error. So let's type in rake test, and this time we're going to get 3 errors because a title has not been set for any of these guys, as you're going to see here in 1 second. And there are the errors. You can see them all right there, and there are 3 failures in our test. So if you want to go in and provide a tag and give it an actual value, what we're going to need to do is go into all of our views. So let's open up About, this guy right here. And if we say we want to provide a title, what we can do is just come in there like this and say provide, and the tag we're going to be targeting is title, and let's make this welcome. Make sure that it matches with the test that we had before, and then put a % and that closing bracket. And we're going to do this for all of our different views. So that's a way to set a tag. Open up the home tag, or actually about, this would cause an error, so let's say about us, because that's what we said we wanted to show up in the title for our test. So about us, and then this one is going to be welcome. I'm here like this, paste that in there, and then type in welcome. And then we're going to do the same thing for directions. So right before this H1 tag, close that off. And you're going to see here in a moment exactly where this stuff shows up in our HTML. So this is going to be directions. Save that, come over here, clear our scroll back, run rake test. Hopefully those failures are gone. But you're going to see here that no, in fact, they are not. And the reason why the failures are showing up there is we have not properly set them up in our layout folder. Now, you can use a default layout for every single one of your pages, or you could create a custom one for just some of your pages by coming over here to Views and then Layouts, open this up, and application.html.erb, this guy right here. And you can see right here is the reason for the error. Title SP blog is being forced in there, and that is overriding the titles that we are providing. So if we want to go and get the title that we have set inside of our main things right here, these views, see where we said what our title should be? What we're going to need to do is open this guy up, and inside of here, go yield and get the title that was set and put it inside of there instead of that static title that we had previously. Now if we come over here and run our rake test, you're going to see that the failures went away. Okay, so that's the process of going through and sort of fixing the errors and the type of errors you see and how to correct everything. Now we're going to take a look at helper functions. So let's open this up. What this is going to allow us to do is to create some code that we'll be able to throw directly into any of our pages. And the location for our helper files that we're going to have our functions in is going to be inside of app. We can control this or get rid of that. And helpers right there. And then we're going to specifically use application helper.rb. Open that up, completely empty. So let's go in here and throw some different functions inside of here. So let's say we want to have a function that is going to get the season based off of whatever time of year it is. So let's create a function, close that off. We're going to create a time object and time new. And this guy's going to provide us with the day, the year, the weekday, the year. Let me actually just show it to you. So if we type in year, like we'll do right here, let's say we go if time, let's say we want to get the month greater than or equal to 3. So that would be March. And time, month, less than or equal to 5. So we're going to use the meteorological sort of way of categorizing seasons. What we're going to output on our screen is, yay, it is spring. Now instead of month, we could also type in year.year to get whatever the year is. We could type in day to get the day. We could type in W day, which is going to return 0 through 6. We could type in Y day, which is going to return either 0 through 365. We could type in hour, which is going to give us the 24 version of hours. Min, which is going to give us up to 59. SEC, which is going to give us up to 59 for our seconds. Or zone, which is going to give us our time zone. But we're going to keep everything very simple here and just stick with month at this moment. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to do an else if, paste that in there, and say if the month is greater than 5 and less than or equal to 8. In that situation, you can see here another example of how to output your strings. You don't use puts like you may have thought. We're going to say everyone loves summer. Then we'll go else if, and we'll say a greater than 8 and less than or equal to 10. In this situation, we'll say put on your coat because fall is here. Else, we're going to say yuck, winter. And there is our function. And then to keep everything simple, let's just jump into our home folder, where this is going to be the view for our home thing we got here. If you want to call that function to execute, all we're going to do, let's say we want to throw this inside of p tags, then we're going to just say %, is equal to, and then get whatever the name of that function is. So it's going to be get season, this guy right here. Copy that, jump back over into home, paste that in there, and put a %, close that bracket off. File save it. And if we jump over here and go to our home directory It gave me a little error, no big deal. Let's jump back over into our helper directory, close off our if statement, end, file save, reload it, and now you can see it says, yay, it is spring. So there's just a little function. Let's go and create a couple more just so you get used to this. So once again, this is in the application underscore helper file. And let's create another function we can call. Let's say this one's going to give the max value of a default value that's thrown inside of here. So we'll say get random number, and it will either be passed a maximum value for the random number, or we will give it a default value of 10. And to get a default value in Ruby, we're going to call rand and pass the maximum value inside of it. And that's all we need to do. Whatever the result of this is automatically going to be passed over to us. Now we'll open up the home folder. Well, let's copy this here first. Jump into home. We're going to be using exactly the same thing we did here. Just close this off. Copy that, paste that in there, get random number, throw that in there, and let's say we want a random number with a maximum value of 100. Jump over here, reload the page, and you're going to see 52 shows up. So let's create some more. Jump over into the helper folder, or the helper file, and we might as well go and review some different Ruby ways of dealing with things. So let's go and create an array, and this guy is actually going to generate a random message by pulling data out of an array. So we'll say random welcome is what this is going to be called. And for this guy, let's say we'll have an opening for our statement. So this is the first item in this array. We'll say, what a beautiful day. That will be one option that we can have here inside of here. And then we'll say, welcome to our site would be another random way of opening up this. And then the final one would be, thank you for stopping by. Let's go and create our second and third potential sentence. Throw those in there. And we'll go and change this to the middle of our statement, and then this is going to be the ending of our statement. And there you can see I threw in 3 additional statements inside of that array, and I'll throw 3 more inside of here for the ending part. Okay, so we have our generic phrases. Now if we want to generate what will seem like a ever-changing opening statement on our home page, we could come in here and put quotes down inside of here, and then generate a random statement from those different arrays. To do so, we would just go opening inside of this hash symbol right here. And if we want to generate a random value between 0 and 2, we would throw a 3 inside of there like that. And there we go. And then we'll do that for all the other potential ones. So this one's going to be middle, referencing our array. And then the final one will be ending. And then get random welcome. Just copy that. Jump over into our home page. Going to call this method exactly how we previously called them. Get random welcome. Throw that in there. Save it. And if we reload this page, and I forgot to put the little ending thing there, no big deal. Come down inside of here, end, and reload. And you can see that it automatically created a custom thing. So it says, thank you for stopping by, blah, 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 blah. If we reload this, this will all change. There we go. Welcome to our site. We hope you find what you need. Contact if you need help. And reload it. And every single time they go to the page, we can see the number there is changing as well as our little message. So there's another way to generate some random content on our web page. And since I'm covering how to work with code inside of Rails, might as well come in here and show you looping inside of Rails. Let's create another one of these methods, and we'll call this one count to 10. Generate a value for x equal to 2. Create another one called number list and give it a starting value of 1. And if you want to do looping inside of Rails, you can go loop do, and then we can go number underscore list. And you're going to have to, whatever you want your final output to be, you're going to have to store it in a variable and then return it to the view that calls for it. So we're going to say number list. And as we're cycling through this loop, we're going to add to the value of number list. And we just need to make sure that we come in here and get x and convert it into a string so that it can be stored inside a number list. Then we're going to come in and auto increment the value for x as we loop through here. And then since we want to cycle up to 10, we're going to throw a break statement in here that says we're going to break out of this loop as soon as x has a value that is greater than 10. Make sure we close off our loop. And then if we want to return to the view our value that we have in number list, put a hash symbol, and inside of curly braces, we go number list. And that's our final output. Make sure you close this off. There's the end statement. And then jump back over into home. We're going to copy this guy right here, throw that in there, and then we'll call our new method we have, which is count to 10. Save that, jump over here, reload, and there you can see it outputted 1 through 10. Now let's take another look at the default layout that we're going to be using for all of our different pages and talk about how we can change that. First off, let's look at it a little bit closer. You can see this is application.html ERB, and like I said before, this is over in the views, layouts, and this is generated for us automatically. And from looking at this, as you can see, we have doc type HTML. What that tells us is we're going to be using HTML5 by default, and I have a link in the description to an HTML5 tutorial if you want to take a look at that. You can see here it's automatically grabbing our style sheets, JavaScripts, and so forth and so on. Now let's come in and actually generate a layout that looks a little bit nicer than what we've currently been using. Yield, this guy right here, is going to output whatever the HTML is inside of the individual home pages. So this right here where we have home, well, all of this is going to go exactly right here inside of the body section, as you may have guessed. Now let's say we want to style all of our different pages. Well, let's create a div first off, and let's give this an ID equal to wrapper, and then we'll get this div right here, cut that out of there, and we'll paste it down here at the end of the body section. Now let's say inside of our header section, we want to throw in a logo as well as a heading for our main web page. Well, you may ask yourself, well, where exactly do I store logos? Well, all of your logos or images you want to use in this situation, we're going to go into SP Blog because that's the name of our little application, and then you're going to go into App, and then you're going to go into Assets, and then you're going to go into Images, and right here is the logo for our website. So that's where you can store all of your logos for your web page. Now if I want to be able to go in and access that logo, first give myself some room in the header section, and I'm just going to put a bracket, % is equal to, and let's say that I also want this to link to my home page. I'm going to say a link to, and this is going to be an image tag that I want to load inside of here. Well then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in whatever the name is for the image that I want to load inside of there. My alt text I can then put here, and I'll say something like new think tank just for the heck of it. Then after that, if I want to link to a specific page, I'm going to put a comma there, put a curly bracket, and we're going to link to the controller. And in this situation, I'm going to link to a static page, which is going to be my home pages. So I'm going to say the controller's name is Pages. And if we come over here to the controller section, there's Pages Controller. That's what I'm referencing. Well, then what I need to do is actually link to the action that I want to call inside of that guy. So I'm going to say action like this. And I want to specifically go to the home page whenever that's clicked on. Put another comma at the end of that. And then if I want to also give it a class, so I'll be able to come in here and style this image, I put a colon and class. And let's say that I want to give this the class name of website logo. There you go, %, and close that off, %. There we go. So that is how we're going to be able to load our images in. Now let's say that I want to also have a title for my web page. I'm going to use just a simple link to in this situation because I do not need an image in this situation. So I'm going to say link to. Then inside of this I can put in whatever the text I want to show up there. And then I can also come in and put in a link where I want it to go to whenever this is clicked on. So have to put a reference to the controller once again. We're going to say pages and then the action that we want to specifically call whenever it's clicked on. And then in this situation, I'm just going to let that be home again. So there's home. And let's say I want to also go in and give this a class name. No problem. Just type in class equal to, and we will call this guy website title. Close off with a % and bracket. And there we go. That will be the end of our header file. And if we reload this, you're going to see right there, there is our little website logo. There's Reddit. And now let's go in and style it a little bit better off. Well, what are some other things we might want to add to this? Well, we might also want to add in navigation. So after our header section, let's go in and throw in our navigation. ID is equal to, and we'll call this horizontal nav like that. Throw this inside of paragraph tags. And then if we want to specifically link to different parts of our website, % equal to, we're going to use link to once again. We can provide the name that we want for our link. In this situation, I'll use home. Again, we're going to reference the controller, just like we did before. If we want to link to pages, which is the controller's name, there that is. The specific action that we want to call, make sure we put our little colon inside of there. And then we want to reference the action we want to call, which is home in this situation. Let's go and do this for all of the other different links that we want for our website. So paste this inside of here. our next one is going to be about, and about is going to be what shows up on the screen. This is pages again, and this guy's going to be about, because that's the action we're going to be calling. Let's go and create another one. Paste this inside of here. This one's going to be directions. There that is. Everything else is the same, except this guy is going to be directions. So that's how we can link to all those different things. Now, we created articles and users also in the previous part of this tutorial. So how do we reference them? Well, we're going to give this a different name. Let's call this articles. There's articles. Controller in this situation is not going to be pages, but instead is going to be articles. And why do I know that? Because right here in the controllers folder, it's called articles. And the specific action I want to call, let's open this up just so you can see it. There we go. And the specific action I want to open up in this situation is going to be index. So that's what I'm going to put inside of there. Jump back over here and type in index for our action. Make sure we close that off. And then let's say we also want to link to our users. This is how we're going to be able to link to all the different parts of our site. And in this situation, we'll use users. And the specific action we'll use here is also going to be index. Save that, and then make sure that we have a closing tag for our navigation. And there's nav. Now we come over here. Remember, there's no styling, so this is going to be ugly. Clicked on that, and you can see there's home, about, directions, articles. We can click on them and see that they show up. Okay, bounce back over here. This is still in the application. This is the layout folder, this guy over here. Layouts, application, HTML. Now we can define the main part of our site. So we'll type in main. Give this an ID equal to content, and this is going to surround all of our content on our screen, so let's close that off. And now let's go in and style the website so it looks a little bit nicer. So where exactly do we style everything? Well, most part everything's going to be in the app section, so here's our app folder. I'm going to open up the app part. Then we're going to look in assets, then we're going to look in style sheets, and you're going to see one that matches up with our main application layout, and it's called application.css. I'm going to get more into Sass later on, but for now, just going to keep this quite simple. Just bounce inside of here. And let's say that we want to set a hover change for whenever a link is hovered over. Just like we do in regular CSS, we're going to go color, and let's just throw a random color inside here, 007 EBD. And I get all my colors from the Wiki Colors website, if anybody wonders. I've had that question before. Let's throw in a background. And in this situation, let's just make sure this is FFF so that our color stays white. And we come in and make a couple more changes. Let's say that we want our body to have a specific background color. So background, come in here, bounce over here, reload this just to see how things are changing a little bit. There you can see that background's changed. Now I'm going to go in and target the wrapper so that we can have this part be white and then the background be whatever the background is. Let's keep these open at the same time. So we're going to target a div and a wrapper. It's going to be the name for our class. Let's open that up. Let's make the margin for it auto. Let's make the background for this white. And we can define our width as well as 800 pixels. And our height, let's make this 2000 pixels. File save, reload it, and there you can see the wrapper. Let's pay attention here to get the padding and all that stuff to look a little bit neater. I'd also like to put some padding here for our header section. So let's go into the header section. Let's display this as block. We'll add in some padding on this. And if you don't remember the CSS, basically going to be north is going to be whatever. So we're going to say we want 10 pixels of padding on the top, 10 pixels of padding on the right, 30 pixels of padding on the bottom, and then 10 padding pixels on the left side. Reload this. You're going to see that move. See? Padding changed. Let's go in, throw in some more CSS styling. Say we want to have the styling for our logo. Let's make sure that it floats left, and let's turn off any text decoration. Now remember, this is a link. So website logo, and let's say we want to float left. And let's say we want to turn off text decoration, change that to none. Let's also do some styling on our website title, and that's the read it part right there. Going to be making a bunch of changes on this. Let's say we want to have the font size as 50 pixels, text decoration, and change that to none. Let's play around with the font weight. I'm going to be surprised as you are what comes out here. Let's change this to bold, display, let's make it inline, and we're going to mess around with our line height. Let's make it 90 pixels. What I'm trying to do is center this in the upper part as much as possible, and then we'll throw in some padding to the left so that the title doesn't bounce directly right next to the image for our website. And let's see how that looks. Let's reload it. Hey, there it is. Read it. All right, so that looks good enough. All right, so let's do a little bit more styling here. Let's correct the navigation part here. What I want to do is have the background be black. So if I want to target in the horizontal navigation, once again, that is this guy right here. So there's navigation right there, and you can see the name of it is horizontal navigation. That's what I'm playing around with. Jump back over here. So I'm going to go target this class. Horizontal nav is its name, and let's display this as block again. If we want to throw in some padding on this as well, might as well just copy this, paste that in there. 10, let's change this to 20 for the right padding, 10 for the bottom padding, and 10 for the left padding is fine. And then let's change the background color for this, background, and change that to black. Save that. Reload it. There's navigation. You can barely see the color though, so let's go in and change the colors for all our links in our navigation, and we're going to do that by just referencing the class and then specifically referencing the link, so right like that. And let's get rid of the text decoration, change that to none so there's no underline. And let's see, do I still have padding on there? Nope. Copy padding here, throw that in there. Let's add an additional left padding on this guy, and let's change that to 20. Yeah, it does sort of butt up a little bit, so let's change that to 20 for the left padding. Let's go in and change my font weight, and let's make all of those links bold, and let's change the color for this to white because we know that'll show up better. And reload, and there you can see they're spaced out a little bit nicer and they look pretty good. Okay, I know they're not beautiful, that's not the point. I'm just trying to add some styling so that you see exactly how to add styling. You go and add your own styling afterwards. Let's look and see if there's anything else we want to do here. That's ugly. Alright, so see how whenever I put my mouse over top of these, that white shows up? Let's go and change the hover text for that. So horizontal, nav, and if we want to target whenever we hover over a link, hover, and let's change our background color to black so that won't show up. Save that, reload it. Now when I hover, it doesn't change to black, but it also doesn't change at all. So let's change our text color whenever it hovers like that. Let's change it to 007 EBD, and now you can see it changes to blue whenever we hover, so that's a little bit nicer. And what else? Final thing, I'm just going to target the main content section and pad around all of our main content. So how we'll target that is just type in main, and then we'll throw in some padding on this. So let's just copy this, paste that in there, and let's say that I want to have top padding of 10 pixels, right padding of 20 pixels, bottom of 20, and then just leave this be 20. And there you can see, looks a little bit nicer. So there you go, guys. That is how to do a whole bunch of different things with Rails. I'm going to make a couple more Rails tutorials until I've covered everything. Probably going to deal with login and session management and things like that next. Please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.